Hi and welcome to Cambridge Nationals TV. In this series of programmes we're going to be meeting the moderator, and in this programme we're meeting the moderator for Cambridge Nationals Creative iMedia. I'll be talking with our Chief Moderator, Kevin Wells, about how to get the top tips from this qualification for your learners. We'll also be looking in detail at each one of the units and about how to get the best out of each of those units and what to avoid and what to do. So, hello Kevin.
Hello.
So, looking at Cambridge Nationals Creative iMedia then, and looking at how a teacher can plan for their learners. Looking at all the units that are in it, is there a best way to plan for these units across perhaps the 2-year course?
Across the 2-year course, I mean, it's very flexible in what they can do. The most popular combination is certainly going to be the certificate in Creative iMedia. That means 4 units.
Yep.
2 of those are mandatory, one of which is the exam, and then there's 2 additional optional units that they can pick from a range that's available. How they put those together is pretty much up to the school, the centre, as to what would work best for their cohort.
Right, so they could, if they wanted, perhaps the examined one, leave perhaps to the final year.
They could, yeah. What we tend to see so far is that some of the skills that had built up through some of the optional, the moderated units, in terms of pre-production planning, that actually helps them in that second year of the exam as well.
So actually what they learn in the R081 actually benefits other ones. So it might be.
It works both ways. That's the synoptic links between the units.
So really, whatever's best for your learners in your centre.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any barred combinations at all?
There are R088 and 89, which is digital sound and digital video.
Right.
Although I would say the processes are, and using the software and such like, do have some differences.
Yep.
When it was actually applied for accreditation, Ofqual thought the basic process of capturing something and then editing it was so similar that they actually decided that would have to be a barred combination.
Okay. All right. So in other words, you can't do those 2 options as part of your certificate if you're going to do that.
Unfortunately not. No.
Okay, right.
Interestingly, we can do the web authoring unit and interactive multimedia. They are not barred combinations.
Right. Okay, so it's only R088 and
88
R089.
and 89.
You can't do both of them?
No.
Okay, right. Now, like all Cambridge Nationals, they come with model assignments for the units. How do model assignments work?
Model assignments have been developed by OCR in the senior assessor team, and they are mandatory. A centre must use the model assignments.
Right, so you have to use a model assignment with the moderated units.
You can't just sort of write your own assignment brief and tasks and do your own sort of miniature project. Basically, to actually get the standards for the qualification and the way it's put together, the use of these OCR model assignments is mandatory. But there are some permitted changes that you can do within that.
Right. Okay.
To say a little bit more about that, I think the nature of the scenario, the client brief, that is something that can be changed. But we'd recommend that the tasks in those model assignments are kept pretty much as is. You might need some minor tweaking and tailoring, but other than that, I think the other important thing with that assignment brief, if you are going to modify it, it needs to be kept in a vocational context.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not a personal hobby, it's not a personal interest, it's not a free choice.
Right.
If there's to do it as a free choice, then in terms of the marking grid, the learners can't actually demonstrate that they've met the client brief because there's no firm brief that they actually had to work towards.
So the tasks within the model assignment are critical for each unit, and actually all you're allowed to change is the scenario. But it's best to check it with us first. Would that be?
It would be a good idea. There's no formal approval process to have a revised scenario checked.
Yeah.
But it would be good practice, and there is some support facilities there going through the contact centre.
Yeah.
And they'll be passed on, and generally there's a comment. Sometimes I've seen a few of those already.
Yeah.
And some of the feedback has been, yes, it's set in a vocational context, it's good, it's relevant, but a little adjustment might be to make it a little bit more practical.
Right, so definitely perhaps stay with the model assignment, stick with it, and keep doing that for the units. Okay. Also then within the Cambridge National Creative iMedia, there are witness statements. How do witness statements work?
I would say they've not been used too much. I mean, it's not that essential because you know, the learners, as they're actually producing their evidence, it tends to be sort of practical applied tasks.
Right.
Yeah. So they would be generating, I'd expect they'd be generating most of the evidence themselves.
Okay.
Now, witness statements can be used. If that is going to be part of the evidence, it needs to be on a formal document, signed and dated, so we can see who it's by, etc. But I think maybe one of the areas where you might use a witness statement, I mean, not that it's going to be very common, is in potentially any group working.
Right.
Now, group working is not disallowed.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think you have to be a little bit careful when delivering the Cambridge Nationals in terms of applying the marking grid for each individual learner.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if someone's just been part of a team or a group, and all the work's been done by somebody else, they can't have a group mark each.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
the
individual.
Marking, it's individual. It's their individual contribution.
Yeah.
And if they are doing something like that, it might be that the witness statement is there to confirm what the individual contribution is in order to justify the mark that's been given.
I see. So really, the witness statements are to the individual learner and documenting how that individual learner did.
That's right.
Okay, right. And so when the teachers are assembling this evidence, whether it's for visiting moderation or postal or repository, and I'm guessing with Creative iMedia there's quite a lot of evidence and it can take many different formats. How is the best way for them to put that together? What do you want to see? Do you want to see like a final piece of work? Is that what you're looking
I think
for?
sort of fundamentally the final piece of work in its intended format is an essential piece of evidence that's going to be submitted. That final piece of work wants to be the same thing that would be handed to a client in a vocational context.
Right. That's quite important.
It is, We're certainly trying to replicate the whole industry sector here, or whereby they get a client brief or commission a scenario, they produce a piece of work, they would probably review that piece of work before they hand it to the client to say, this is what I've produced. And it's whatever they would hand over is the final work which we'd like to see in its intended format. Digital graphics, I mean, it's the mandatory unit, would be a good example. Sometimes what we've seen is like some printouts, but they might be just on a laser printout and it's scaled to fit an A4 page.
Right.
How do we know that it's suitable and fit for purpose? You wouldn't give that to a client in a real context.
No.
So we want to actually see what they would actually give to a client.
I suppose the same with screenshots then and things like that.
Yeah.
That's not what you'd give a client. That's not the finished product, is it?
It's evidencing the process, and it works within an educational context. But as a vocational qualification, what we're really keen to do is to sort of replicate what would happen in a vocational or an industry sector. So it's going through that process, but it's also having some evidence of the individual steps which we need to actually support the marks in the marking grid.
Right. So that's really critical then, is what is submitted is what, as a client, you'd expect to get.
That's right.
From
and
the
not
final.
just screenshots in one long write-up.
So it's almost like doing the proper job itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Which is what the qualification is aiming to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, great. Well,
can I say, can I chip in?
Yes, certainly.
Screenshots, we're not looking for like pages and pages and pages of screenshots.
Right.
Yeah. I know some qualifications are very keen on screenshots, and you might see 20 or 30 pages, but I think a few key screenshots to sort of demonstrate the use of the tools and techniques of creating the work would be good, but no need to go overboard with that. Not reams and reams of it.
No, absolutely. Okay, right. Some very important advice there across witness statements and moderation and planning, etc. And synoptic as well, synopsicity they talk about, which is looking at the whole qualification and looking at which units best fit together. That's obviously quite important within the Cambridge National Suite as a whole. But within iMedia, I'm guessing there's a lot you can take from different units.
Yes, there are. I mean, the examined unit, R81, that's basically all about sort of pre-production. So that feeds into pretty much every other unit in terms of the planning strand in LO2. I think so. Digital graphics is the mandatory unit, and that was chosen to be the mandatory because that kind of feeds into most other units. I mean, you could produce a graphic, it could be used on a website, you might be producing some graphics for a game. Maybe as part of an animation, interactive multimedia. Again, that fits in, in a wide range of scenarios. The others, I mean, I think it depends where the interests lie, both with the teachers and the learners, etc. Any options that they might want to pick. There's 2 units on games. So if you're doing a certificate, you've got the exam, the digital graphics unit, and 2 others. The other 2 could be both on games. So then you've kind of got a bit of a route to actually start developing some extra knowledge and skills in that area.
So we talked there about the Cambridge Nationals in Creative iMedia, and we talked about top tips for learners and for you as a teacher in your centre. Now there are obviously lots of resources out there. There's our CPD hub and the OCR website under the Creative iMedia qualifications page. There's sample learner work, combined past papers, and there's resources, videos and training materials all available on those 2 websites. Now if you're thinking of moving across from ICT to Creative iMedia, then do check out the Cambridge Nationals Creative iMedia page on the website, where there is mapping documents and a video that helps to show how to make that transition across. If you do have any further comments, then please do get in touch with us or phone us at our contact centre. Thank you for watching.